So you can see it's coming down. I can zap it again. I could do this all day. This is so much fun. Okay, so that's another interesting lumped element. As the temperature rises, its resistance changes.
Photo.
Next thing is a photoresistor. Okay, it's a resistor. It used to be a resistor, Lorenzo. Oh, okay, that's fine. So this is a photoresistor, and notice that it almost behaves like an open circuit. But what I'm going to do is shine some light on it. When I shine light on it, it begins to conduct and becomes a resistor of some value. There you go. Okay? So that's a photoresistor. So now I'm going to show you a battery. Notice we did talk about batteries before. I'll show you a battery. So before I show a battery, just think in your own minds, what should the IV characteristic of a battery look like? IV. A battery supplies a constant voltage. You know, your little cell, your AA battery, 1.5 volts. So think about what the IV characteristic of a battery should look like for 3 seconds before I show it to you. So when I show it, Lorenzo? It's a straight line. This is a good battery. It's a straight vertical line which says that the voltage is 1.5 volts or thereabouts, no matter what current it supplies. As an ideal voltage source, it has a fixed voltage, V, and no matter what the current going through is. Now I'll show you a dud, a bad battery. And this is what a bad battery looks like. So many of you have had your car batteries die on you, and when you go to the store, they check your batteries. They use exactly this principle, that dead batteries have resistance. Whenever you see slopes here, you're thinking of resistance. Okay, they can use this property to figure out that your battery is dead. So that's a dead battery. And finally, let me show you a bulb. We started with a bulb, and so I need to end. Okay. We started with a bulb, so I need to end with a bulb. And what you'll see is that a bulb is simply behave like a resistor. Its IV curve is going to look like this. Okay, notice this is my bulb, and guess what? It behaves like a resistor. It's a very interesting kind of resistor. So I won't go into details for now, but notice its IV characteristic behaves like a resistor. Okay? So those are some pretty standard lumped elements. You'll deal with a lot more set of lumped elements, switches, MOSFETs, capacitors, inductors, a bunch of other fun stuff. But before we do that, what I wanted to tell you is that don't go berserk on this abstraction binge. Okay? Too much of anything is bad for you. So what I'm going to show you is abstractions or models are only valid provided you work within a set of constraints. Notice, we've already had this tacit handshake which said that we'll follow the discipline. Okay? Even after we follow this discipline, there are ranges to how well physical elements can behave like ideal lumped elements. Okay? For example, what I'm going to do is show you a resistor, and it's going to look like a resistor. I'm going to keep increasing the voltage around it. Okay, what's going to happen at some point? I just keep doing that. If it's an ideal element, if you're a theorist, you say, oh yeah, the curve will keep extending till I reach infinity. But this is a practical resistor, so, you know. So people out here kind of cover your eyes or something. Okay? So your abstraction can predict that. All it says the current is an amp. It can predict the heat, light, or the smell. Okay, so in the laboratory, when you get the smell, you know what somebody has just done. They've blown the resistor. So that's one example of the lumped abstraction breaking down. So, you know, if I really believe in my own BS, anything's a lumped element, so here's a pickle. A pickle's a lumped element. I can treat it as a lumped resistor. But this is a very interesting lumped resistor. Don't try this at home. This is a standard pickle into which we are pumping 110 volts AC. And I promise you this is a standard pickle. So it has a fixed resistance, but your lumped abstraction cannot predict the nice light and sound effect. Okay, so last 2 or 3 minutes, what I want to do. So remember, don't get carried away by abstractions. There are limits. Okay, you can't predict everything. Okay? That's the smell of a pickle. Okay. So let me give you a preview of some upcoming attractions and show you one more quick simplification in the last few minutes. So what we can do, once we build these lumped elements, we can connect them in circuits. Okay, so I can build a circuit of this sort. So here's a voltage source, a bunch of resistors. I can connect them with wires and build a circuit of this sort. One interesting question we can ask ourselves is, under the lumped matter discipline, what can we say about the voltages? Okay, if I go around this loop, provided my world adheres to the lumped matter discipline, what can I say about the voltages around this loop? You can say, aha, Maxwell again, right? So I can write Maxwell's appropriate equation to solve that. Okay, voltages have something to do with E and integral of E dot dl and all of that stuff, right? So this is the appropriate Maxwell's equation to use. And I want to find out what happens here. Now remember, under LMD, I made the assumption. Okay, my world, my playground has del phi b by del t being 0. The rate of change of flux is 0. So under these circumstances, I can write this. I can break up this line integral into 3 parts across the voltage source and across the 2 resistors and write that down. Okay? And then what I can do is, now that the right-hand side is 0, I can simply take this, and I know that E dot dl across this element is simply VCA. This is VAB, and this is VBC equals 0. Okay, so when I make the assumption that del phi b by del t is 0, and I go around this loop applying Maxwell's equations, what do I find? I find that the sum of the voltages VCA plus VAB plus VBC is 0. That's fantastic. So now I can say hasta la vista to this baby here. Okay, and I can focus on this guy and say Maxwell's equation, this thing with squiggles and dells and all that stuff, can be simplified to the sum of the voltages, or the sum of the voltages across a set of elements in a loop in a circuit is 0. Okay, and this is called Kirchhoff's first law, KVL. Okay, similarly in the recitation section, you'll see the application of Kirchhoff's current law, which comes from this being equal to 0 and all the currents coming into a node being 0. So KVL and KCL directly come out of the lumped matter discipline. And we can use those to solve circuits like this.
Website tonight at 8 p.m. for your recitation assignments. We're not